I'm Professor Wright and I'm with the 4-H After School program. Today I want to talk to you about the Maps and Apps experiment for the 4-H National Youth Science Day. Now I'm not going to sit here and read the whole guide to you. That will be up to all you who will be facilitating this experiment. I will give you a few of the highlights and then we'll go through a quick run through of the experiment itself. The objective of this project is to develop and understand geospatial technology through a hands-on approach. GIS stands for Geographic Information System, and the participants will learn to apply basic principles of GIS. These principles will include everything from categorizing feature groups to using maps to solve problems. We want the participants to practice geospatial thinking and applying that to problem-solving tasks, which in this case will be littering and waste management. And of course, we're always trying to pique the curiosity of our participants and give them hands-on experience with the science at hand. Each box contains 8 map overlays, a base map, 5 of the youth guides, and 1 of the facilitator guides. Let me give you one solid piece of advice, facilitators. Do not wait until the day of to try to work through this as you go. Facilitators should be very familiar with the material, the challenges, the terminology, the jargon, and especially the supplies that will be needed to perform this experiment. Read through the manual and take special note of things like the difference between points, lines, and polygons. There are 3 colors used for text bubbles throughout the guide. These correspond to different aspects of the provided facilitator material. These boxes are also included in the youth guide as well. The yellow or gold colored boxes are instructions, so make sure you read them very carefully. The blue boxes are talking points and question prompts for you as facilitators or the team leaders to use to engage the participants in the discussion. And the green boxes are various background info which may also feed into the discussion points as well. There are 4 elements to GIS I would encourage you to discuss with the participants: hardware, software, spatial data, and their minds. There are some supplies you will need for Activity 1 that are not included in the experiment kit. You're going to need one 8-count pack of dry erase crayons per team. These will run you somewhere between $3 to $6 per unit. Substituting dry erase markers might be possible, however they smear or get erased more easily than the crayons. You're also going to want something they can erase crayon with, such as handkerchiefs or paper towels. Now there are erasers included in the box sometimes. You will need pencils, pens, scratch paper, sticky notes, all the things that the team are going to need to write their ideas down on. You're also going to need paper clips, tape, or other binding clips to affix the overlays to each other, as well as possibly hanging them on the wall with. If you need to hang these on the wall, these are really heavy once they're bound together, so I recommend having some duct tape on hand. In the book, there are feature layer cards that have to be cut out of the books. However, you may not want to cut them out of the book, so you can copy these and then cut those out. I suggest using cardstock as they will be a little more durable. Once you have gathered these supplies and are ready to proceed, begin by dividing the participants into 8 teams. Try to keep the teams no more than 8 to 10 people. There are 8 overlays, so that in theory should be designed by 8 participants. If you have more than 8, some will have to either pair up or double up on an overlay, depending on whether you have more or less than 8 people. Have each group choose a team leader, but let's avoid using that term and refer to them as the head planner, as the book suggests. Now divvy up the 8 feature cards amongst the participants. Begin by affixing the base map somewhere, be it on a table or a wall, for part 1 of Activity 1. The premise is that a certain amount of land with a hill in it will be turned into a park. A phrase we want to use with the participants over and over is begin with the end in mind. As facilitators, you need to encourage the participants to plan all the way through rather than tackling this experiment step by step. Have them design their park all the way through before they even begin working with the overlays. Have them brainstorm ideas about what they want to see in the park, as well as how it will serve various members of the community. For example, if they want a skate park nearby, are they worried other non-skater people will want something else? Will there be an area for dogs, or what about picnic areas, and so on and so forth. Once they're done brainstorming and they have their ideas fleshed out, they can begin working with the overlays. Explain to them that the overlay should go in a logical order. You want the natural feature cards to come first, such as hydrology and vegetation, followed by the human-made features. There is a table on page 22 of the manual. They can write down their ideas in order that they should go. However, they can just as easily write this down on a piece of scratch paper and number them 1 through 8. Have them address how the environment shapes their planning as well as indicates where certain features would be located. For example, there isn't going to be a duck pond on the side of a hill. You don't want walking trails going through the middle of a creek. Also make sure the feature layer cards are being associated with their park ideas in general. Other questions may arise, such as if there is a pond, will there be swimming or fishing allowed? Divvy up the 8 dry erase crayons. Make sure that each participant in charge of a layer uses a single different color than the rest. Also encourage them to use colors that are associated with their features, such as blue for water, green for earth features, etc. The first round of drawing on the overlays will be a rough drawing. What will likely happen as they begin overlaying them one after the other is that there will be conflicts in the locations of each feature. They might be encouraged to look at each other's layers as they design their own to avoid as much of this as possible. However, part of the 4-H process is learning through a hands-on method, and the best way to learn hands-on is to make mistakes. So, allowing them to make the mistakes might be a beneficial way for them to learn how GIS planning is done. The manual also recommends having the initial layers, the nature layers, done first so that the rest of the team knows what areas are available. There may be some time constraints here, so if this is possible, allow for it. If not, have them just work through it all at the same time. Once their overlays are clipped and finished, have them return to the manual on page 25 and use the geographic inquiry questions to prompt further discussion. Many of these questions are going to relate back to questions that were in step 1, but it'll allow them to address some of the issues about how this park will serve the community after they've drawn it out, and allow them to discuss areas where they had problems and how they solved those problems. Once this is done, you'll move on to part 2, which is on page 26. Part 2 is what we call the gallery walk. Each team will display their finished maps for the gallery walk. Whether you do this by leaving them on tables or hanging them on walls is dependent on the space you have. This is why I recommend having some duct tape on hand, because if you do have to hang these on the walls, like I said, they're very heavy. Scotch tape is not going to cut it. Explain that each team will visit the other team's maps, and we're going to leave tweets in the form of post-it notes that they can hang next to each other team's map. This is the way that professionals often conduct community outreach in GIS through things like Facebook, Twitter, and various other social media outlets. Have the teams only post positive statements or questions, and remind them to keep them to 140 characters or less, just like a regular tweet. The teams then return to their maps and read the tweets left for them. There should be another discussion at this point, and there are some questions on page 28 that can also be employed here. Lastly, and this is the most important thing, take pictures of the finished maps and post them at www.4-h.org/NYSD. Again, that's www.4-h.org/NYSD. From the U of A Cooperative Extension Service here in Little Rock, Arkansas, this is Professor Wright coming to you with the Maps and Apps experiments for National Youth Science Day. Here's hoping your National Youth Science Day is a great success. Thank you.